and welcome to Ben Television News. I am Kiru Obuli. First, the highlights. President Jonathan has directed security forces to launch a full-scale military operation to put an end to the impunity of terrorists in Nigeria. The Senate Committee on Finance has described allegations made by the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Malam Sanusi Lamido, over missing funds from the Federation account as untrue. Former military chief Abdul Fattah al-Sisi has won an overwhelming victory in Egypt's presidential elections. And in business, chairman of Abuja Car Dealers Association has appealed to the government to suspend the new vehicle import tariff. Now the news. President Goodluck Jonathan has expressed his administration's determination to use all options available in handling the threats of terrorism in the country, including dialogue, the radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration of members of the dreaded Boko Haram sect that renounces terrorism and embraces peace. The president made this known during his Democracy Day broadcast to commemorate 15 years of uninterrupted democratic governance in Nigeria. President Goodluck Jonathan also enumerated some of his achievements in office, which includes high national economic growth rates, steady improvements and expansion of national infrastructure, including airports and roads, the restoration of rail transportation, the efficient implementation of a roadmap for improved power supply, a revolutionary approach to agricultural production, as well as advances in education, sports, youth development, healthcare delivery, housing, water supply, and other social services. The president paid tributes to patriots who made the sacrifice for the restoration of democracy in the country, noting that he ordered the low-key celebrations in deference to the mood of the nation while enjoining the citizens to protect the gains of the Fourth Republic. Meanwhile, President Jonathan has directed the security forces to launch a full-scale military operations to put an end to the impunity of terrorists in the country. The president gave this directive in his Democracy Day broadcast. Jonathan said that Nigeria's unity and stability, as well as the protection of lives and properties, were non-negotiable. He stated the determination of his administration to protect the nation's democracy, national unity, and political stability by waging a total war against terrorism. The president said the activities of terror groups in the country has caused debilitating pains and horror on the nation, particularly the abduction of schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State. President Goodluck Jonathan has denied media reports that the federal government was in the process of recruiting an international public relations firm to counter mounting internal and external criticisms against his administration. In a statement by his special advisor on media and publicity, Dr. Ruben Abati, the president also denied any plans to spend $300 million on the alleged public relations effort. Abati said the government considered the report as highly insensitive, deplorable, and absurd and very malicious. He said the federal government's topmost priority for now was not public relations or image laundering, but national security and the ongoing efforts to ensure the safe return of the abducted schoolgirls. Lagos State Governor Babatunde Fashola has begged the Islamic terrorist Boko Haram to release the over 200 secondary school girls abducted in Chibok over a month ago. Fashola made this call at the celebration of the 2014 Children's Day in Lagos, describing as unfair for the group to continue to hold the girls captive for agitations they knew nothing about and for the demands they could not meet. He appealed to Boko Haram to resolve to dialogue rather than keeping the girls hostage, as the girls had suffered enough trauma being held hostage for over a month. The Senate Committee on Finance has described as untrue the allegations by the suspended Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Malam Lamido Sanusi, that $49.8 billion was missing from the Federation account. The committee, led by Senator Ahmed Makarfi, which submitted his report on Thursday, also said total crude oil liftings from January 2012 to July 2013 was $67 billion and not $65 billion as Sanusi had alleged. Sanusi had written to President Goodluck Jonathan alleging that the NNPC had failed to remit $49.8 billion, being part of the income it generated from sales of oil. But the committee stated that all the agencies which made presentations have agreed after reconciliation that $47 billion out of the $67 billion had been credited to the Federation account, leaving $20 billion to be accounted for. Ben Television News will return after this break. Don't go away.
I am on the street of Abuja, the Nigerian Federal Capital Territory. Just like any other nation, Nigeria is coping with various challenges, which include socio-economic issues, unemployment, and insecurity.
As we are alive to review the first 100 years of our nation, so by the grace of God, with others, we are alive to review what we have done during the time that we have the opportunity to be in the leadership of this country.
We cannot continue like this as a nation. A time will come when the poor in this country will have nothing to eat but the rich. A time will come, those of us who drive on jeeps, it will become dangerous to even drive those jeeps outside. What happened in Libya is smelling in Nigeria.
In a quest to provide solution to some of these challenges, here comes Project Nigeria.
Welcome back. And now to the rest of Africa. Former military chief Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has won an overwhelming victory in Egypt's presidential elections according to provisional results. He gained more than 93% of the votes, with ballots from most polling stations counted, state media say. Turnout is expected to be about 46%, far lower than Mr. Sisi had hoped for as an endorsement. Islamists and some secular groups also boycotted the votings. Mr. Sisi deposed President Mohamed Morsi last July after mass protests. He has seen a bloody crackdown on Mr. Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood movement, in which more than 1,400 people had been killed and 16,000 detained. Kenya has impounded illegally logged rosewood worth about $6.6 million in one of the largest seizures of its kind. The rosewood was being shipped from Madagascar to Hong Kong when it was seized at Kenya's Mombasa port. Illegal logging in Madagascar's rainforest has worsened since a coup in 2009, conservationists say. There is a huge demand for rosewood in Asia to make luxury furniture. Kenya Wildlife Service official Arthur Tuda said 34 containers of rosewood had been confiscated after it was offloaded in Mombasa, the busiest port in East Africa. At least 11 people had been killed in an attack on a church in Central African Republic. Eyewitnesses say members of the Seleka militia group threw grenades before shooting indiscriminately at the Church of Fatima in the capital, Bangui. The mostly Muslim Seleka rebels have been involved in a heavy fighting with mainly Christian fighters in the anti-Balaka militia since March 2013. The conflict has displaced about 25% of Central African Republic's 4.6 million population. And now in business, Chairman Pension Fund Operators Association of Nigeria, Mr. Musbahu Yola, said the total pension fund asset has increased to about 4.3 trillion naira from about 4.1 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2014. Speaking at a World Press Conference in Abuja, preparatory to the maiden World Pension Summit Africa bill to begin July in Abuja, Yola said the contributory pension scheme currently has 6 million contributors.
The world. A lot of work has been done in Nigeria. There's a lot more to be done. We've got 6 million contributors out of a population of 170 million people, perhaps up to 60 million workers. We've been able to accumulate pension assets to the tune of 4.3 trillion naira. That's just roughly $25 billion and about perhaps 5% of our rebased GDP. So we have a lot of work to be done.
The Acting Director General, National Pension Commission, PENCOM, Mrs. Chinelo Anohu Amazu, said the summit, which would have 55 African countries in attendance, will help shape the industry's conversation within the next decade, as it is expected to attempt to address present shortcomings and other problems associated with pensions.
We are showcasing those who have done very well and those who are still not up to speed. Because one thing I must say is that we are trying to tell everyone that this is a workers' law. You are the ones that will demand that you're treated right, demand that your employers, that your government sign you up onto the CPS, because that is the freedom you need.
People from all over Africa and also from outside Africa, because we bring in some speakers from other countries as well. And finally, I would like to say that this summit is going to be inspiring and full of ideas, new insights, and also learning together from each other's systems to create a better pension world for Africa.
Co-founder World Pension Summit, Mr. Harry Smorenberg, expressed gladness that the African pension sector, particularly that of Nigeria, was maturing at an interesting pace. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has cautioned banks against non-remittance of taxed revenue collected on behalf of the federal government. The acting executive chairman, FIRS, Alhaji Kabir Mashi, gave the warning during a taxpayer sensitization workshop in Abuja. He also urged companies that have adopted December 31st as their accounting year end to file their returns before the end of the month. A statement issued by the FIRS stated that while Mashi commended the bank for their roles in tax collection, he however appealed to them to promptly transfer the funds into the appropriate accounts. The chairman of Abuja Car Dealers Association, Mr. Awal Rilwan, has appealed to the federal government to suspend the new vehicle import tariff to local vehicle manufacturers begin full operations. Rilwan made this appeal in an interview in Abuja. He said that implementing the policy now will lead to a shortage of affordable cars for low-income earners and loss of jobs to many people. According to him, government should first put the necessary infrastructure in place for local manufacturers to produce enough cars to meet demand before discouraging importations. The new tariff, which the Nigerian Customs Service began to implement on May 1st, involves 35% import duties and another 35% port levy. And that's much you can take on Ben Television News. I am Kiru Obuli. Many thanks for watching.